Oj! Oi!
Slice the pickles into long strips and pour sugar straight into the pickle jar. Then add in 2 packets of Kool-Aid, turning the juice bright red. Stir until the sugar and powder fully dissolve, then place the pickles back into the jar and put the lid on. Over time, the pickles will absorb the sugary Kool-Aid, and just a few days later, you'll have Kool-Aid flavored pickles. Slice the pickles into long strips and pour sugar straight into the pickle jar. Then add in 2 packets of Kool-Aid, turning the juice bright red. Stir until the sugar and powder fully dissolve, then place the pickles back into the jar and put the lid on. Over time, the pickles will absorb the sugary Kool-Aid, and just a few days later, you'll have Kool-Aid flavored pickles. Slice the pickles into long strips.
When South Park's video game was released, most players didn't realize the skin color slider changed the entire gameplay experience. Before release, fans assumed picking darker or lighter skin was purely cosmetic like every other game. But developers tied skin tone to difficulty, and while it didn't change combat stats, lighter skin gives more money and better dialogue, while darker skin makes everything cost more and NPCs treat you worse. When South Park's video game was released,
even if a penguin waddles right up to you in Antarctica, you should never touch it. Photographers who work in Antarctica say that when they run into penguins, they stop immediately and stay still. Even if a penguin hops onto their face, they don't push it away. This is because penguin feathers have a thin, oily layer that keeps them waterproof and warm. If you touch them, that protective layer will rub off, and once it's gone, they'll start losing heat fast, which in the freezing cold can be deadly. Even if a penguin waddles right up to you in Antarctica.
Why does the imposter survive ejection on Paulus in Among Us? When you get ejected on Paulus, the imposter gives a thumbs up. The crewmate panics and struggles to survive. Why? You see, Paulus is the imposter's planet. The lava there doesn't affect them. Even after being ejected, they don't die. They just fall into it. But for crewmates, they're not built for this world. When they fall, they burn instantly. And Mira HQ can't help them there. So, why does the imposter...
I bought a mug that promises not to fall. It's called the Mighty Mug, and it claims to be the mug that doesn't fall, so naturally I had to put this to a test. Now honestly, it's pretty unassuming as it just looks like a normal mug. However, on the bottom is this soft orange part that apparently recognizes force and stabilizes the cup for when it's pushed. So to test this, I started off with the most common way a glass falls over, by accidentally nudging it, and to my surprise it worked and didn't fall. Which means I had to ramp it up a bit, and so after this I put it on the floor and tried tripping over it using my full body weight, and after numerous attempts the mug continued to stay up. I was pretty impressed at this point, and so I wanted to challenge it further, and so what I did was decided to give a few punches, which realistically a mug would never face. However, even if you do happen to punch your Mighty Mug, it still won't fall, which meant I had to get a bit crazy now, and so I busted out the aluminum bat and gave it some pretty decent taps trying to spill it over, but still nothing. Eventually, from enough force, I was able to push it over, but it definitely exceeded my expectations, and I think it deserves the name Mighty Mug, so good job. I bought a mug that promises not.
He dropped big rocks into an empty jar, which represented life's most important things: family, health, and dreams. Next, he poured in a handful of pebbles. They slipped through the gaps, settling around the rocks. But there was still room for them because the important things were already in place. These pebbles were the smaller but still important things, like your job and house. Then he took a scoop of sand and poured it in. The tiny grains filled every crack and crevice. The sand was all the small things, like hobbies, watching TV, and vacation. Now, if the sand had gone in first, there would have been no room for the pebbles. And if the pebbles were first, the rocks wouldn't fit. Meaning the most important things in your life, the rocks, have to go first. Finally, he poured in a cup of coffee. It seeped through the sand into every last microscopic bit of space, completely filling the jar. Because even when life feels full, there's always room for a cup of coffee. He dropped.
And soon I learned my parents were expecting a brand new baby girl. My mother spent months knitting pretty dresses. Unfortunately, the baby turned out to be a boy, and because we were out of material, I was forced to wear those same dresses for an entire year, drawing mockery and scorn from all of my manly classmates. Fortunately, I had with me my allowance, which I'd been saving for a whole year, 1 3-cent coin. I dropped it into a slot and carefully maneuvered the claw toward the beckoning fuzzy grail. Odds were against me. But then it happened! The miracle! The claw grabbed the stuffed animal. It was mine! Then, like a knight of yore, I gallantly gave the prize to my beloved mother, who immediately turned around and gave it to my brother, Roger. I was crushed as I watched Roger produce a big red marker and write his name on the toy. And then afterwards proceed to do the same to my mother, claiming both as his own and effectively shutting me out of the family dynamic. Soon I learned my parents were expecting a brand new baby girl. My mother spent months knitting pretty dresses. Unfortunately,
Did you know some players think Tricky from Subway Surfers might actually be a ghost? Most people just see her as the skater girl who loves graffiti, but that red beanie might be hiding something darker that fans only recently started talking about. According to old discussions about the game's early files, Tricky supposedly wasn't originally planned as just another runner. Some people believe she was meant to reference a girl who lost her life while doing graffiti near train tracks. Players also notice that while running, Tricky often looks back over her shoulder, almost like she's worried something is following her. And here's the creepy part. When the game glitches, she doesn't crash like the other characters. Instead, she just disappears instantly, almost like she was never really alive in the first place. Did you know some players think Tricky from Subway Surfers...
These are U.S. states that shouldn't even exist. The state at number 1 will genuinely surprise you. At number 5, it's Rhode Island, the smallest state in America. So tiny it could fit inside Texas over 220 times. It barely has enough land to be a state. At number 4, it's Delaware. Only 1 million people live there. It's the second smallest state. Most Americans only know it exists because of tax laws. At number 3, it's Michigan's Upper Peninsula. It's completely cut off from the rest of Michigan. It was literally given to Michigan as a prize for losing a border fight with Ohio. At number 2, it's Montana. It's the 4th largest state in America, but animals actually outnumber humans there. Only 7 people per square mile. Finally, at number 1, this state only exists because of a war. Before 1863, it was just part of another state. It broke away, became its own state, and now it's the poorest state in America. It's West Virginia. These are U.S.
Ela desce, ela sobe, no baile é pressão. Mina linda, perigosa, rouba meu coração. Vai quicando, vai jogando, não perde a razão. No batidão, só pura tentação. Ela desce, ela sobe, no baile é pressão. Mina linda, perigosa, rouba meu coração. Ela desce, ela sobe, no baile é pressão. Mina linda, perigosa, rouba meu coração. Ela desce, ela sobe, no baile é pressão. Mina linda, perigosa, rouba meu coração. Vai quicando, vai jogando, não bate a razão. No batidão.
The App Store doesn't have the